Try that again. Hello, thank you guys for coming out here. This is super awesome. I was expecting, he said, come talk, and I was like, oh yeah, 30 people or something like that, and like, whoa, okay. Yeah, we already went there, so we're rocketing forward. I'm pretty awkward myself, I think, so if I come off as awkward, that's just how I am, so thumbs up. I'm doing fine. Typically, I have to, in my job, do a lot of finely detailed, thoughtful design and presentations and other things that I thought this one, screw that. I'm just gonna have fun with this, and I hope you guys come away from here with something valuable. When Kevin first asked me to do this, I said, awesome, what do you want me to talk about? He's like, well, that's totally up to you. And I said, okay. So I hope you guys aren't going to be disappointed, but we're not going to be talking about code. One yay, all right. It was actually really tricky to try to figure out what that was, and I asked a couple people that I'm very close with, and I said, if you wanted to come hear me talk about something, what would you want me to talk about? And everybody kept saying, you should tell them what it's like to work with a creative director. So I thought, what else can I find that's even more narcissistic than that? And I was really stumped, and I knew that there were things that elements of that I think would be valuable and that I would like to hear myself. I think when we enter into the professional world, there's no big handbook. Everything's learning by experience, and there are a lot of things that I bet we all wish somebody would have just given us the heads up before we encountered it, or just paved the way a little bit. And I was racking my brain. He's like, so what are we going to talk about? You got to hurry up and tell me. And I said, I'll get back to you. And I was driving, and when you get lost in thought sometimes, it sounds like you're underwater, like you're hearing stuff, but you're not really focusing. And I started hearing this thing come into focus, and it was Foo Fighters on the radio, and it was a song, Is Someone Getting the Best? And it was like, bang moment. And fortunately, I didn't bang into something else. And I said, that's it. Is someone getting the best of you? And typically, that usually means, like, I can imagine, Beaver Cleaver's dad going, well, somebody got the best of you today, Beaver, and that's bad. And I thought, this is unique. This is a spin on that. Like, is someone getting the best that you have to offer? Not only of your core value or your expertise, but is someone getting the best of you beyond that? The best of your influence, the best of your ambient self? And are you influencing them? So we're going to cover off a couple things. My discovery and development, which is not just to talk about me or anything, but it leads up to like where I've learned a lot of things that I think I can pass on. There's obviously loads of books that you can read about doing your best and stuff. So I'm not going to tell you how to do your best. I doubt that you would want to hear that from me. But I do have some things that have happened in my life that have really added to the way that I approach things professionally and the way that I help others as I mentor them. Desired qualities of getting the best out of yourself. A little bit of humble pie, which is necessary. Bringing out the best of others and the benefits of your best. So, a little bit about me. I am living in Columbus. I'm really loving it. I'm via Minnesota, via California. And right now I'm a creative director at Resource Ammirati, and I've been there for about 6 years. And my career has spanned an awful lot of different kinds of clients and products, and it's gone from everything from automotive to medical to beauty to food to pets to electronics to sports to all over the place. And that was something that as a young emerging professional, I saw the value of growing my pedigree. I didn't want to be one of those people that's just like really good at that one thing. I said, I'm going to be better if I keep putting myself in situations that I'm not familiar with, that I have to do a deep dive into those, into that knowledge base of how best to serve that particular situation. So I've had the great fortune of being spread all over the place in advertising. I've been on about, well over 40 brands, and a lot of big powerhouses, which you get little brands and then you get monster ones like Nestlé and Proctor Gamble and Mitsubishi and General Mills. And so along with the different kinds of actual clients, there's completely different ways that they operate, and that's a challenge in and of itself, as I'm sure most of you know. It's pretty cold out, and so I just thought I'd tease you a little bit with this. This is where I went to school, and I went to school at Laguna College of Art and Design, and that shot was right at the end of the street. It was super small, and up to that point, when you go through school, you know, you're really just interacting with the teacher. Your wares are on display pretty much for just the teacher. Has anybody else gone to art school here? Wow, a lot of people. Okay, cool. So you'll understand what I'm saying. When you go to art school, you're on the wall. Your efforts are being judged by everybody, even people that aren't your classmates. And trust me, they're super judgmental. So when you first start out and you're like, all right, I gave it my effort, and you're like, oh my God, oh, mine's the worst one up there. Oh geez, this is gonna go really badly. That's a huge 2x4 in the head when you're emerging, and you are believing that you have this talent. That's not unlike a lot of people that come into the workforce. When you have brand new people that are starting at an agency or something else for the very first time, they think that they've got everything under control, and they're like, yeah, all right, let's do this, and that's usually not the case. I had an interesting thing that happened that really shaped how I operate today, and has influenced me greatly. I was in my illustration class, and I'm not an illustrator. I'm a designer by nature. I'm not a good drawer. I'm not. And there's this thing that people think like, oh, well, you're an artist or you're a creative director. You must draw awesome. No, not. But I had to try and I had to do my best. I was in my illustration class with other people who like kick ass at illustration. And I consistently knew that I was going to bring in my work despite my best effort, what I thought was my best effort. And I was going to continually be under them. They're always going to be the shining stars in the classroom. And at one point, I just got like mentally postal in my head about this. And I just said, that's it. I'm never coming in here again and not being the best one on the wall. I'm never going to let that happen again. And whether I actually did or didn't wasn't the point. I made the mental change to say, screw this, I'm going to be the best, and people will fear what I'm going to bring in. They're going to be the ones going like, oh man, I got to bring in something better than Novak's going to bring in. And when I started carrying that into my design work, it grew. But I didn't, that's something that you can make the mental change of doing, but especially as a young person, it's like, how do you go about doing that? I was going to show a picture of Zoran, but that name right there is enough to be, cause a little bit of intrigue and mystique. And he was a very intriguing and mysterious man. He was a guy that was a professor there, and he kind of like cherry-picked people that he saw had great drive or great aspiration or not just great talent. There's loads of talented people there, and we all know that we probably work with people who have just tons of talent, but don't know how to use it, aren't really interested in using it to its full potential. And So he saw something in me that, I guess I was emitting, and he started mentoring me. And that was the first time that I'd had a mentor that wasn't necessarily an authority. He was a professor there, but he wasn't my professor. And that was really unique, and that I learned a great deal from him. So, he helped guide, and he helped say, well, let's say, how about a suggestion? What about this? Have you tried this? And most of it was about being open to things, trying a different avenue. Yeah, that's cool, you did that, that's great. Put that aside. What else can you do? Can you make that thing that you did better? Are you afraid that somebody else is going to come in with something better than you brought? And just little things like that made me absolutely push my game. Like I said, I owe a lot to those lessons. So, pretty much I felt like this when I was graduating. I had my goal of like, I'm going to kick everybody's ass here at school, right? Whether I did or didn't, but I totally did. I'm just kidding. No. Yeah. I was ready to I was fueled. I was like, I'm going to take over the world with my new design powers that I have and my new attitude. And my senior show, I got hired by the biggest, baddest agency in town on the spot. Never has happened at that school. And I didn't know. I was like, oh, I guess this is how it works. I've never had a senior show. So I didn't put as much stock into it as maybe other people, like my instructors or people that were PR representatives for the school or my parents or other people. So I left feeling like this. Now, please. I started here at this place called Fuse, and it used to be called Club Post Nuclear, and it was a super cool building. It was all concrete. There was lighted catwalks everywhere. They had a bar in there, and I was like, I've arrived. This is awesome. And I was ready to just take off and do the very best I could. I was like, I'm gonna take what I did in school, and I'm gonna do this for I can't wait. My career is launching. And I said, awesome, you're going to work on Hewlett-Packard. I was like, yeah, PCs suck, whatever, but yeah. And I thought, right out of school, I'm getting like a big client. Like, this is a huge client. And so isn't that a pretty picture? So that's basically what I ended up doing. So my situation there became a little bit less and more just what am I doing? After about the fourth time I checked my watch one day, I said, I'm out. I came here to do my very best, and you guys don't want it. Well, you're not going to get it, and I'm leaving. Those people that I mentioned before, my parents, the PR people from the school, my instructors and everything, just completely lit me up. And that was the first professional awakening that I had, which was, oh, wow, I might have left something really big. Oh, wait, I have to put in my dues. Nobody told me that. They just were like, hey, awesome cape, dude, go kick ass. It's like, I didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to use it when I first started working. That was a humongous lesson for me. So knowing what you don't want is often more important than knowing what you do want. And that was one of the first actual great life lessons, the first wisdom bombs that hit me. And that really helped me decide for the rest of my career when to know if am I feeling successful? Am I doing my best? Putting in effort is one thing, but am I giving my best? Are people seeing my best? Am I able to do that? Am I happy? Those things have totally shaped my decisions. So, it was a year after I got another job, which wasn't super cool. But I was paying my penance for that. And I did a lot of little contracting and stuff. And then I got another job. And I was like, yeah, I'm back, right? And I got my first real design job. It was working on a new logo for a tech company. Now, this is 2000. So like tech industry was just blowing up, right? And we had to do some work for this company that I still couldn't tell you what it's about. Don't know. But it was big, and it was like, well, we're global, right? And so I was a new guy there, and they said, all right, do like 100 logos, and we'll see what sticks. And I was like, wow, 100 logos, okay. So I started working, and I put mine up, and then they're like, cool, this one, this one, this one, this one. And I was like, what? So the group dispersed, and I went over, I picked it up, I put it back on the wall. And I went back to work and made a little bit better one. And everybody came back, all right, let's look at who put this back? Whatever, we'll just keep rolling. Edit, 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 edit. Went down on the floor again. But I knew this was the best one. I looked at everybody else's stuff and I said, that's crap. This is the one. I know it. And I knew it in my gut, not because I was like, it's mine, so you should love it. I was like, I honestly believe that this is the right thing to do. And so this was the first thing that I actually did professionally. And it was this Broad Logic logo. I don't even know what Broad Logic is still. But they make these things. I don't know what it does. And like, you know, they got people doing stuff and things, baseball and anchors and stuff. So it was incredibly exciting. It was the first time that I'd created something that the rest of the world was going to see. And I'd done that because I had trusted my inside voice. And I said, you know what? I don't care if you don't like it. You're gonna like it. And that's not always the right thing to do. But it worked out in this scenario, and it told me like, hey, the first one up wasn't the right one. But I trusted my gut, and I kept working on it to figure out what was right about it. And I was listening. I was pretty quiet, and I did a lot of listening, figuring out what everybody else was like. Well, we need to push this in this direction and everything. So I picked that up, and I molded this on the side. So this left me with a lot of pride. But more importantly, it was like, you know, it was like sharks eating. It was like, I could smell the blood. And I was like, yeah, give me more of this. No. So if you guys can see that, those are small goals. And that was another really big thing that has made an impact on my life as a professional, in helping me do my best. I knew of myself that I had the tendency to create a giant goal that I could never possibly achieve, which makes it really hard to start, which makes it really hard to finish. But my school, the Epiphany that I mentioned, taught me how to say, hey, I'm going to do the best here. And I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to do the best here. And I'm going to do the best over here. I never said I'm going to be the best designer in the world. I said, I'm just doing the best right here, right now. And it didn't matter if I was the best or if I was doing my best. I had the mentality, and that propelled me forward. And that kind of stuff is really contagious. I know that we all know people that have that thing that you're like, man, I don't know what he's got, but I wish I had that. Or you want to work with them because you know by working with them, your stuff is going to be better. And that lesson is like absolutely stuck with me through my career. So, I'm going to get into a little bit about at least what I think or what I've observed is like, you know, what is best. I want you guys to think of somebody that you know who gives their best. Just take a moment, and it's probably the first one that comes to your mind. We all know people that we work with or maybe not that we work with, that no matter what, you know they're going to give their best effort. You know they're going to put their heart into it. You know they're going to try to do the right thing, and they're going to make hard decisions. Think about what quality that you equate with that thing that is the best. Is it something that you have? Is it something that everybody has? Is it something that's just theirs? How do they benefit from that? What are you seeing? Like when we see somebody that's like, man, they're so good at that, and then we're like, oh, and then they did that, and then they got that praise, and then they got that project, and then they got that PR, and why can't I do that? What is it that they're doing? Are they just sitting on it? Because we know people that sit on it, like we talked about before. Like there's people that sit on their talent, that sit on the ability to do their best and don't use it. But what are these people that you've identified in your head? What are they doing with it? One of the best motivational speakers, in my opinion, ever, this is Bricktop from the movie Snatch. And I want you to, has everybody seen Snatch? Everybody? Nobody? You know what like a Southeast London Cockney sounds like? A real gritty like, all right. And it's like, so think of that. And in that voice, this quote, everybody is unique and has the ability to do something better than anybody else. That is a huge statement. Every single person in this room has the ability to do something better than everybody else in the room, if you want to look at a smaller microcosm. The guy that said this is Barry Hearns. He's a huge sports mogul in the UK. I'm really into Premier League soccer, so he's up in there. And that's actually what he looks like. So he doesn't look like the scary Bricktop. And he's got a lot of sage wisdom. So if you ever have the chance to hear any of his lectures or anything, give it a listen. And it's super entertaining because he talks like Bricktop. Okay, so we talked about people that have like that thing. You know, they're like, oh man, they're so good at that. And those are the really obvious things. Think of somebody that has that secondary element. That you might be an amazing developer or artist or manager or whatever. But what else are you bringing to the table? In the description of my talk here, it was, you can be awesome at something, but it's usually the other things that end up really propelling you, right? I'm sure we all know people that kill it at what they do, but never do anything else beyond that. Can't move forward. I've known people that are incredible creative thinkers that couldn't manage their way out of a box. And it's a real bummer, because imagine what they could impart on somebody else. So think about somebody that has that extra thing, right? And you know, if you have that, and you can think of that, like how did you realize that? How have you made use of that? So if you know somebody is a great listener, or a great leader, or a great speaker, or you know, a bit of a visionary, like are you utilizing that extra talent, that extra trait that they have? Are you allowing them to help you be better at what you do? So you already all know your own core talents, right? There's probably a lot of developers and stuff in here, right? No, just me? I'm not. So you already know what you're bringing to the table. You already know, like, I'm awesome at this, and that's what I do. Do you know what your other thing is? Have you started to, like, grow that? Are you in the early part of your career where you're saying, like, I'm only about this? Or you're in a later part of your career and saying, like, I know I'm good at this, but I haven't had the opportunities to develop those other things that I'm able to do. So a few of those common qualities we're probably all quite familiar with. Vision. It's a big one, right? You can do a lot with vision. A lot of the great things in the world have been, are a result of great vision. Drive, passion, understanding, highly underrated. Resilience. In my line of work, this is really useful. At Resource Ammirati, we talk a lot about resilience, and unfortunately, we probably have to use it a lot. When we enter into something, there's the great possibility that things are going to go horribly wrong, and resilience is just going, all right, I got to pick it up and I got to keep going. That absolutely paralyzed me early on, because when you're emerging and you're growing your own talents, you figure out what you think is working, and then you're like, yes, this is it. This is the thing. This is the thing. No, it's not wrong, and you can't see past that. And then when somebody says, actually, it is wrong, you're done. It's like, how do you recoup from that? It can be incredibly defeating. And you have to develop those skills of saying, I didn't do it right, or it's not quite right. I have to make it better. This is hard. And I don't think it is something that is inherent in people. I think it's really, really easy to say, damn it, I failed, and just completely just back away and shrink. It takes a lot to come back and to say, I might be embarrassed, I might feel foolish, I might not have the right thing the next time after that. But I know that, I mentioned it at my school, like where I was on display for everybody. There was a lot of getting it wrong. There was a lot of failure. And I had no choice but to do it better the next time. I would not be a very effective creative director if my teams saw me unable to get up after, a month's work gets shot down, or some other agency wins over our best effort. So that's something that I've had to consciously develop and work on. Without ingenuity, drive is you're only getting there, right? So you have to figure out how to get around the obstacle that just knocked you down. Resilience is great, and a lot of people, at my work, there's a lot of stock put in resilience. Getting up is the first part of giving your best, but the second is going, well, damn it, how do I fix this? How do I correct that? And you have to think fast, and you have to do those things. That's something that, art school teaches you. Everybody raise your hand, you understand. Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, this thing just broke, what do I do? I'm sure developers go through that quite a bit too, right? And most people don't understand what it took to get there in the first place, and the idea of having to say, I have to start all over again, but it's still due. You have to figure it out. You have to push yourself. You have to have faith in yourself, and to know that no matter what, I'm going to give it my best. And if it's wrong, if it still doesn't work, I know that I still gave my best. If you continue to do that, at least for me, that's proven to be successful. Also, be your own damn self. It's really easy to fall into the draft of somebody else who is successful, especially if you're coming into your profession, if you're entering into school, if you're entering into a new echelon of your job. There was a guy that I went to school with that named Dan Jensen, and he and I were peers, and I think we worked on edging each other out a little bit. And once we left school, and I had my awesome job that I abandoned immediately, he started to get pretty successful, and he was getting tons of contract work. And I'd go to his house and I'd say, so how's, maybe you could talk to your guys and hook me up, please? And I looked at what he was doing, and he had like a certain kind of computer, and he had a certain kind of extra monitor. I was like, damn, I need an extra monitor too. And I started seeing the only person in front of me that was being successful who was also doing the same thing I was. So I said, I've got to change to be more like this guy because he's a successful one and I'm not getting a job here. And then one time he said, yeah, they got me working on something and it's just, I'm not getting it. And he said, I wish you could help me out because you're so good at this. Like, I know that you could figure this out. And that was the first time in a long time that I had been acknowledged, like, you're really good at that thing that you already think that you believe deep down that you're good at. And it completely snapped me out of trying to do whatever he was doing to be successful. And that was the thing that got me to the next step, because I probably would have stuck there, and I probably would have. And he started working in 3D and Maya and all this stuff, and I was like, no. It's like, Flash is awesome, and I'm like, I'm not good at math. Anyway, so that turned me around, gave me a ton of confidence. Confidence is extremely important to have. Your own self-confidence. It's very difficult to give your best if you are not confident in your ability or your skills. So, now that you are giving your best and you're rocketing up your ladder, I'm sure, you don't have to raise your hands, but I'm sure we've all stumbled, fallen, ended up with egg on our face, been told to relax and not be so awesome or thinking you're awesome. I think part of knowing how to give your best is knowing what those things that can hurt it as well. It's really, really easy to kind of drink your own Kool-Aid and you're like, yeah, I'm getting pats on the back and this is cool, I'm gonna keep doing this. Know your weaknesses and know your faults. And let others know that you have them too. It makes you a little bit less susceptible to massive amounts of criticism if they know that you know that. As I mentioned, I'm a big Premier League fan. Manchester United is my team right now. I love this quote from Sir Alex Ferguson, who's a renowned manager, one of the most winningest in soccer history. And when I saw that, I was like, man, that was so me early on. I was praised as I was being moved up. I was like the passion guy. I had passion. I was like, man, I love your passion. That's great. I was like, yeah, right? And I wore that as this like badge of honor. I was like, passion guy's in the room. We're gonna figure this out. And I kind of misinterpreted that a little bit, because passion is cool, but like kicking people out of the way, like as you're being passionate, is not cool. And I learned some lessons. I was like impetuous, and I felt like I needed to put my thought and my mark on everything. I'm like, I've been here, that's my thought. And that can be really helpful because it can get your projects out of a jam. It can help spark the room to life. But it can also keep people down. So I was totally this guy for a lot of my emerging career. I saw the creative director cloud way up there, and I was clawing my way up to it. And I relished the challenge. Like when I taught, I told people. So I taught design back at that school for a while, and I would tell people, I said, if you're not coming in to every project here with your guns blazing, ready to kick down doors, you are going to get eaten alive when you get into advertising. You have to be confident. You have to voice what you think. You have to put yourself out there. To a degree, yes, but not at your own peril, and not at others' peril either. That mentality of more passion is better, like, really worked against me, and my team reacted in kind. I began regularly having these brainstorms, and I had a remote team, and I was saying, I'm coming up and we're doing a brainstorm. And everybody come in the room, I'm like, what do you have? And then I'm like, you got nothing, I'll do it. And I started filling the board, thinking I'm inspiring them, thinking I'm going, all right, we're going to solve this. And pretty soon they just kind of sat back and like, well, you're going to do it anyway, so, right? And that is not good. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. And I had a review, and I went from, your team will do anything you say, like, this is awesome, keep doing whatever you're doing, to, they don't feel like you're listening to them. They don't feel supported. They don't feel like you're growing them. They don't feel like they're getting their chance. And that absolutely crushed me, because I cared a lot for these people. And I valued their efforts, and I valued their work. And it's like my illusion just shattered. My illusion of myself just absolutely shattered. One of my heroes, Walt Disney, said, you may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you. And I got kicked squarely in the teeth that day that I had that review. But the flip side of that was I was resilient. And I used ingenuity, and I got back up, and I course corrected every little thing that I was told that wasn't my best, that I thought I was doing my best, but that wasn't. And I worked really, really hard to restore those relationships and to restore those efforts and to help be a better mentor to those people and to make our projects better. Remember this guy again, right? Okay. The day you think you're the nuts is the day you disappearing down the toilet, all right? Soon as you're up there and you're like, yes, I'm money. My last project, check it out, everybody, kicks ass. You got to be careful, because even though you're giving your best and you think everybody else is saying, like, this is great, he's doing great work. People are slow to rally, but so quick to pull you down. You can do 1,000 things right, and it takes one thing that you do wrong that people are going to keep bringing up. And that's just life. That's going to happen no matter what. But you can mitigate that by watching yourself as you are doing well. Instead of celebrating that, you can say, cool, I'm here. How did I get here? What do I do while I'm here? How do I make the next here better? How do I get there? How do I perfect on this good thing that I just did? This photo shoot that I just did, this website that I just did, this crazy back-end thing that I did. I don't know what you call it. This is my quote. I just came up with this one. But it sounded like it worked. So when you're on the top, make sure that those who are looking up see more than just an ass. It's easy to get drunk on our own success when we get it. We strive for that. We crave it. That's one of the reasons we go to work. That's one of the reasons we do the best we can with the skills and the tools that we have, is to achieve greatness and to be recognized. Don't let that hurt you. So, bringing out the best in others, I think arguably more important, if not so, than bringing out your own best. One of the hardest things to do when you're working with others, managing or mentoring, is giving them the chance to be responsible for the work that ultimately you're responsible for. It's really difficult, because you know that you're going to have to answer for it. But the only way this person is going to grow is to do it, is to get out there and try that. And it's very difficult, especially for new managers to do that, for new mentors to do that. Is everybody in the room, are people managers in here? And do they have teams working under them? Got a couple? Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. When you first get in that seat, you're like, all right, I got control. It's really hard to say, yeah, no, you go ahead and do that, and I'll be responsible for it. She's like, I hope this turns out right. But if you give somebody the chance to fail, more often than not, you're going to see them shine because people respond to credibility. People respond to responsibility. People respond to positivity and chance and the opportunity for themselves to shine. This is a screenshot from a series that I just fell into that I absolutely love. It's called Detectorists. And it's a really funny movie from the BBC. And in this, we see these guys and they're metal detectors, you know, and looking around for everything. And they spend so much time focusing in on the small things, trying to dig up this one little thing. And in the plot, they miss this giant thing that's right in front of them if they only would have just kind of looked up and taken a step back. And that's something that's very difficult to do when you are in the midst of a project. Or, you know, I just got off a 2-day photo shoot, and I was sitting there and I'm fidgeting around with crumbs and stuff. And meanwhile, there was a lot of bigger stuff that I also needed to have my head around, but I couldn't because I had to deal with this. I have to agonize about details. I have to agonize about patterns and nuances and stuff, and it's really easy to get lost into that. I'm responsible for all my work, the client's satisfaction and opinion of us, and it's difficult to give that up to somebody. But we're almost always rewarded. I mean, teams are not one people. We know that. We're all here because we work with somebody else, and somebody else had to give us an opportunity to do something. There's Alex Ferguson, who I mentioned before. I've learned a lot from his history and from his way of doing things, and something that I aligned myself to was, as I started learning about growing people, growing my team, I realized that I had to step back. I had to pull back, and I had to be able to see what's past the thing that was in front of me. And as I'm working with clients, I have to do that. I have to be able to see, you know what, I see what this other agency is doing. I see that they're going to go up here. We're going to, you know, it's like a battle plan. And that is something that if you're trying to do whatever it is that the best that you have to do, forethought, being able to step back and say, okay, wherever I'm at, yes, I need to do this well. Can I make it better if I think about what else can happen, if I interpret another solution, if I can maybe push aside what I'm doing and try something else to see if that might work better. I have been asked many times to say, hey, this person, we're ready to kick out the door. I need you to see what you can do with them. And you do that once or you do that twice, and pretty soon you're doing it a lot. Because the people you work for say, well, he's able to, or she's able to salvage this person or pull something out of them. And that is really, really hard to do, because you have to course correct, you have to change the way people think. Not the people that you're helping, but the people who have already worked with them who said, punt, get them out of here. I had to figure out how to go about doing that. I didn't naturally have that, but in order for me, again, to do my best at what I was being asked to do, I had to solve this problem. I had to figure out, identify those areas of growth. I had to determine what it is that I can make happen here. Because whatever they were doing at the time wasn't working, or wasn't working for other people. I mentioned teaching design at Laguna College of Art and Design, and that was my first foray into management. I didn't know it at the time. I was just teaching other people how to do what I learned how to do. But when you're teaching somebody, when you're teaching anybody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a child of your own or something, you have to figure out how they listen, how they respond, what are they thinking about. You have to get to know people. You have to understand how are they trying to do their best? What obstacles are in their way of doing best? How can you help remove them? Most of our professional world doesn't afford that opportunity right off the bat. They don't come to us and say, hey, work really closely with this person. Understand them, get to know them, and let's figure out how to make the best. It just doesn't happen. I had somebody do that for me, Zoran, like I mentioned. And so I've been very keen to that. And that's helped me be able to do my best and help the people I'm working with give theirs. When we seek to discover the best in others, we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. I know it should be like on a successories picture somewhere or something, but it's solid, and I take that one to heart. So after you're doing all this, and you're working hard, and you're trying all these new things, and you are giving your best at every angle, the benefits of that, what does it all get you? A direct result of that is obviously going to be your own success. You're probably going to be really great at what you do, and you're probably going to develop those other skills that once you go on autopilot for the thing that you do really well, you're going to inherently start to develop if you're continuing to do that. But arguably the best result is that someone else is going to see that, and they're going to be inspired to do their best because they see you doing your best, and you're getting the projects, and you're getting the praises, and you exude confidence, and you inspire confidence in others. This is Sarah. Sarah's back there. She's the cringing, embarrassed one right now. And she was an intern at Resource Ammirati, and she was working with myself and a few other people. And I didn't have a ton of time with her, but I didn't treat her like an intern. I treat her like a valuable part of my team. The other day I was coming in, coming out of a meeting, and it was like 7:30 or something. Walking down the hall, and she says, hey, how's it going? I said, well, if you're here at 7:30, it's probably not too awesome. But I said, it's cool. We'll figure it out. She's got her bags. She's obviously been there the whole time. Ready to walk out the door. She says, can I do anything to help? She's not on my team. She's not on my clients. She's not in my portfolio. Can I do anything to help you right now? And I was so taken back by that. I'm like, wow, that's really selfless. And it made me feel really great at that time. I walked in the next day, and this was on my desk. And it's a really, really lovely note. And it felt great to hear like things, about you. Yay me, right? But I just sat back in my chair, and I felt so good, and I felt so satisfied, and I felt so happy, and I felt so, I felt eager for her because she was echoing the thing that I was trying to do when I was coming up. And somehow, whatever our interaction was, she was inspired by that. And she's going to, as a result, inspire many other people. I know that. She's that kind of a person. She's not that kind of a worker. So the fact that she's going to go do that, and then somebody else is going to be inspired by that, and they're probably going to tell her, and so on and so on. That's awesome. And all that came from was giving a crap and talking to somebody and helping them. You're new here. You've never worked in an agency before. Let me show you how we do this. Here, let me course correct a little bit. It's just a little bit of time and a little bit of extra care. But that was part of my own personal doing my best. And it paid off hugely. And this is never going to leave my desk, because it will constantly remind me that people are watching, people are paying attention to me, people are checking to see if I do my best, and they're going to know when I'm not, and they're going to be like, oh, he looks really pissed off or tired, or this thing's must be going very well, you know? And that's debilitating to a team. And it reminds me that you gotta keep your chin up. You have to be resilient, and I have to use my ingenuity to figure out a way from not looking or feeling like that. So, ask yourselves often, whether you're being successful, whether you're having a hard time, whether you're down, whether you're up, is someone getting the best of you? Your own personal core best, your influence. Someone struggling to fit into the team, someone struggling with a problem, somebody you don't even know or work with. Is someone getting the best of you? And if they are, it feels like this, right? All the time. Thank you.